Okay, so we are shifting gears, but not totally shifting gears. We're actually diving into a very similar topic, but a different iteration of this topic. So we have Addie Evolves here. Addie is actually one of my best friends. Addie is going to be talking about healing the worthiness wounds and being authentically you. And in this workshop, he's going to dive into how to move beyond perfectionism, imposter syndrome, and paralyzing fear of failure, as well as what it feels like and looks like to embody true worth and unconditional self-love. So with that, Addie, thank you so much for being here. I really love having you, and welcome to Emergence.
Thank you so much for having me. Oh my God, I joined like 10 or 15 minutes before Adrienne finished her talk there. And that was just like, this is the perfect transition. I don't know if I can do this. Yeah, I'm gonna remove my spotlight. I wanna start this off with something a little different than maybe what we've been experiencing all day. So if you currently have your camera off, I have a request to please allow yourself to be seen. Am I spotlighted right now? I think I'm spotlighted. No? Okay, all right. Allow yourself to be seen. Even if you want to, unmute your microphone. But we're gonna start this off with a little dance party on the topic of boundaries and living in your full fuck yes, thinking about the freedom and the love and the like fulfillment that you feel in your own life when you are aligned with your fuck yes and speaking your truth. So yep. Invite your family, invite your kids, all of it. Get your camera on. We're gonna dance. Let's see what you got.
Mom, come dance.
Baby, I got your money. Hey, today. Baby, I got your money. Don't you worry. I said, hey, baby, I got your money. Hey, today. Baby, I got your money. Don't you worry. I said, hey, baby, I got your money. No.
Let's go. Whoever brought their kid out, thank you for that. That was a gift to all of us. Okay. Take a sec to just like let your heart calm down. I'm sure who broke a sweat, by the way? Just type something in the chat if you noticed even just like a little bit of perspiration on your forehead, anything like that. I know I did. Yes. And whoever was in charge of spotlighting everybody during that, I freaking love that. Thank you. So, okay, arriving here. All right, I think I'm on spotlight now. Cool. So thank you for being here. Seriously, I've unfortunately had other commitments today. I wish I could have been here for even half of the workshops. I knew a lot of people in this lineup, and I know that the day has been awesome. If you, whether you've been here whether you just got here, or whether you've been here the whole day, I would love to hear how it's been so far. I just want to get a little reading of where you guys are at. I see a heart. Amazing. Thank you, Romeo. Rose. How else has it been? I've seen a lot of you guys, literally amazing downloads, codes. Yeah, I'm sure that it's almost been overwhelming, right? Like I know that there's a integration space happening later tonight and tomorrow. And I don't know if it's been talked about at all today, but I believe that integration is like freaking key when it comes to actually making a change in your life after having some sort of profound transformational experience of any kind, whether it is a workshop or a like Adriana was talking about, or Adrian was talking about, like medicine ceremonies, things like that. All right, still catching my breath here. Regardless, I'm super, super excited to be sharing this. I also don't have a super hardcore like plan set in stone. I've got a little bit of a framework on what I want to work through. This is a talk all around worthiness and healing the worthiness wounds, the parts of us that make us think that we're unworthy. And then also just being authentically you. And I see the two super, super tied. I'm going to get into a few things. I'm going to be sharing a little bit of my story. I want to be sharing what this ends up manifesting as. A lot of this is like kind of like internal work, but it's like, what does that look like on the external? How does this internal work actually show up in other parts of our life? So I'm curious. I want to start this off with a little bit more engagement. I love all of these comments so far. What do you guys think? Whether this is for you or what you may have seen in others, what do you think the worthiness wound or feeling unworthy can manifest as? How does it show up in your own life? Maybe you've experienced this, maybe you haven't. And feel free to unmute if you'd like as well.
Hands down, for me, it shows up as self-doubt and a hesitation in my step.
Huge. I see scarcity, abuse. Yep. Manifesting our fears, nervousness, parenting. Ashley, I would love to hear more about that as well. Feeling scarce. Worthiness, haven't been saying yet. Worthiness has been saying yes to things that aren't a yes. Yep. Just like Adrian was talking about, I heard her mention, and I heard this on a podcast the other day. It was like the closest thing to a fuck yes is almost a fuck yes, right? And so you could have a lot of the things that you want, but maybe it's not everything, and then it's the belief of, oh, are you worthy of everything that you want? And I'm sure that there's been a lot of crossover with all of these. Not enough, lack of confidence. Yep. Accepting work that is underpaid and overworking ourselves. Ooh, I've been there. And honestly, these are a lot of things that I'm still working through in different ways. I don't want to jump into this acting like I'm above any of this stuff. I'm just as much a student of continuing to embody the worthiness that we all have. Lack of security myself, no confidence. Yep. Okay, so these are all perfect. Feel free to keep dropping them if you want. I want to read off some of the things I wrote. The first one, literally on my whiteboard here, is lack of confidence. Right. Also, there's this piece around like the imposter syndrome and the perfectionism. Right. The imposter syndrome is saying, oh, who am I to do this? What I have to offer isn't good enough. Those people are doing way better of a job. So why should I even give it a try? And the perfectionism of like, oh, it's not good enough yet. And when we're so deep in that, and I think it's super important to be devoted to our crafts. But when we're so deep in the perfectionism, we actually have so much of it that we never let it out. We never even get up to share our gifts with the world.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll start. Yeah.
Could we, whoever's on a phone call, could we just have you mute?
Good.
Yes, I think it's Brenda. Brenda, we're gonna go and
Cool.
find her.
Another one, and this was talked about with money. I want to preface that all of this extends so far beyond money as well. But this guilt, this shame around receiving, who can relate with that? Just drop something in the comments or put your hand up. When we feel this worthiness, we're like, oh, I can't even allow myself. I've seen people self-sabotage success out of their life. The second that it shows up, they go, oh, could I really handle that? We start to almost get afraid of our power. We get afraid of truly being rewarded in a way that would get rid of the story of not enoughness. That sometimes our wounded egos can be so attached to that story that if it were true that we were good no matter what, if it were true that we were worthy, if it were true that we were amazing and lovable, that belief system would start to crumble. And that can be really hard to let go of. And so I wanted to start this out with just talking about a lot of those things. Because like I said, we're diving really deep into very specific inner work, but it's like, what can that actually look like on the external? How can you go apply this into your life, and what type of changes might you expect to see in the long-term effects of all of this? And so I want to set a couple intentions, first of all, like to just preface, like, if I could have you walk away from this workshop with anything, whether it's anything I'm talking about or you coming on to ask a question and get hot seated or anything. One of them is just having your worth, your self-worth, not just in knowing what you're worthy of, but just your self-worth of like who you are, having that rooted internally and not relying on the external to have that reflected. Because yes, like there is the conversation of worth of like, oh, I'll allow myself to receive more money, allow myself to receive more love, but all of that starts inside first. And whether the money's there or not, if we're letting these external things sometimes dictate our reality, then we're giving our power away to them. The second that disappears, the second we lose our job, the second we break up with that partner that we thought was our sense of worthiness of receiving love, everything then starts to crumble. And I'm going to be sharing a few stories specific to my situation, just of things that I've gone through around this, to show you what it can look like. And these are stories where I've in moments where I've kind of broken through it and come out on the other side of this, and also moments where I've been on the opposite side of it and witnessed things just start to fall apart. So another piece to all of this is really just understanding your uniqueness, and that, you know, on the same topic of imposter syndrome and perfectionism, just like your uniqueness, your unique expression and sharing of your love, your unique gifts, your unique talents, your unique offerings, exactly as they are, is enough. You know, it doesn't matter who else is out there. And there's so many different things that we could use analogies for with this, but I want to go into a couple. And so I'm going to do this somewhat chronologically along my experience. So there was a time, and just as Chelsea said, I'm here in Minnesota right now. This is actually where I grew up. And there was a time where for the first like half, I'd say, of 2019, I was out traveling the world. I lived in Hawaii, California, spent a few months in Bali, which is actually where I discovered ecstatic dance. And a little bit of backstory, even before then, I used to be a DJ at a roller skating rink. Maybe you guys could have even just like felt a little bit of that with the dancing that we started off at. Who went to a roller skating rink growing up, by the way? There was, oh yes, you know what I'm talking about.
It's my first cigarette, my first kiss, and the first time going backwards, baby.
Yes, so much fun. Yeah, I got actually really good at rollerblading there. I was like kind of at first, but then I started doing it a lot. But so I used to have these skills with like DJing at the roller skating rink. And when I discovered ecstatic dance, I started to take those skills and blend it in with my transformational work. This is also when I was doing my coaching and everything like that. And, you know, halfway through 2019, I came back to Minnesota. I remember my first thought, my first desire, right? This is the piece on my authentic self, my soul, was like, I just want to host an ecstatic dance out here. And I had done one in Bali, right? But I was like, I just want to host an ecstatic dance out here in Minnesota. And that was a desire. It was there. But I didn't end up actualizing it. I didn't end up actually taking the action to make it happen, because there was this underlying story that I had. There was this underlying story around imposter syndrome, around like, oh, I just was all over the world, experienced other people that are so amazing at what they're doing things way better than I could ever do them. Who would I be to put together an ecstatic dance here in Minnesota? You know, people wouldn't even want that. So I created a whole bunch of stories that stopped me from doing it. Same thing with perfectionism. I was thinking, oh, well, I mean, I don't have a ton of money right now. I don't necessarily want to put down a lot of money to rent out a really awesome space. And even though I could go to the park and just throw on a speaker, that's not good enough, right? And so I let the perfectionism stop me. And then the same thing with the lack of confidence. I had done a couple of these. I had done plenty of things with the roller skating and all of that for a little over a year, but I hadn't done many ecstatic dances. And so I was like really lacking confidence in actually sharing it with others. And so like I said, this whole thing around worthiness, that was just an example of how those three things manifested in my life stopped me from giving my gifts. Okay, now I'm gonna actually fast forward, and I want to take a moment to actually celebrate myself. This weekend has been going really fast for me. Last night, I hosted my first ecstatic dance here in Minnesota, and it was freaking amazing. And I've been having I had such transformational moments even in that dance, like witnessing how much community came together, how much community that I barely even knew. I knew like maybe 2 or 3 people that helped me organize this. And they invited all their friends, and all of a sudden we've got a room of like 20 or 25 people, and we're all just like getting down, having a lot of fun. Not even just fun. I mean, for those of you guys that know ecstatic dance, super transformational activity. I won't get into that. And I know our next person is coming on to talk about dance, and so I'm excited for that too. But all right, example number 2. So I had this experience, fast forward another like 6 months or so. I had just moved to LA. I think I had been in Los Angeles for like 2 months or so. And this one is more so around coaching. I was on a phone call with somebody. It was actually more of a discovery call where we were actually feeling out if it would be a good fit to work together. And this is a person that I had known for a little over a year. She had always been like in my space, loving my stuff. She finally reached out, ready for some transformation, and just wanted me to help support her going through some of the transitions in her life. And we were on a phone call. It was super amazing. Like, honestly, one of the best conversations I've ever had. We get to the point at the end where we're like, all right, so how much is it going to cost? And I told her, and this is a time when I had just started coaching. I had worked with a few people at this point, and I was leaning into my edge. This was more than I had ever asked for, but at the same time, it wasn't as much as I really wanted. But I had my own fears around what would happen if I were to ask for more. Am I worthy of receiving? Right, a whole bunch of these things coming up around the guilt of receiving and the comparison of other people out there. And I told her, and I was like, all right, so to work with me 3 months, it's going to be $1,000. And I sat there, and she goes, "Oh, only that much?" And from that point, she started to kind of like make up a bunch of excuses and be like, maybe this isn't for me. Yeah, I'll think about it. I'll talk to you later. Da, 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 da. The whole thing came up. But the second that happened, I noticed that her response was almost like afraid. She was like, wait, this is like scary low. And this was my moment where I was realizing that my worth, my understanding of my value and my perceived value from other people was way lower for me compared to where other people saw me at. Where as much as I could be of service, as much as I could be giving my gifts, if I didn't recognize that I was a gift, if I didn't recognize that I am worthy of receiving more than $300 a month or whatever it was, then I'm just going to be getting in my own way. And there's also going to be people out there that aren't going to want to work with me because they don't think I'm taking it seriously enough. Right. And so that was a huge moment for me where I was like, okay, that's not going to happen again. I'm going to actually I'm going to go on this journey of getting who I am and really understanding the value that I can bring and embodying that and getting rid of any of the guilt that I might associate with, am I worthy of receiving more? All right. And so far, throughout those 2 stories, we've covered imposter syndrome, perfectionism, lack of confidence, comparison, guilt around receiving, right? The not really valuing ourselves. I want to fast forward to another one. This was actually while I was in Tulum back in, I think this was in August. I was living out there most of this year. As Chelsea mentioned, we hosted some workshops and everything out there, which was super fun too. But it was my friend's birthday, and this was a day. And who likes to be, and like no shame in this. Who kind of is happy to be the center of attention on your birthday? Show of hands. Okay. Right, like it's your birthday. It's all about you to an extent, right? Okay. Yes. And for anyone not raising your hand, we get to celebrate you. The world wants to celebrate you on your birthday. You do not need to feel any shame around celebrating yourself. So it was my friend's birthday. We were there showing up for him. Spent the whole day together. You know, we went to this like place where we were doing some like cliff diving into cenotes. We went out for dinner. We went back to one of our other friends' houses and we're hanging out. We made cacao, a bunch of stuff. And I remember we were circled up, and this was right after we made our cacao, and we were talking about something. I can't even remember what was happening, but they were talking about something that we were about to do. And I remember in my body, I was just feeling like very drained. For whatever reason, I had a lot of stuff I was working through, and I didn't feel like I was showing up in service and in celebration of him for his birthday. I felt like I was just really depleted and needed some self-care and some time to recharge. And this was a moment where I didn't feel worthy of being there. And I didn't feel worthy of what I was about to do next, which was, I actually raised my hand and I was like, hey guys, I just want to like express this. I feel like I either need a little bit of time for some self-care right now, or I might leave because I don't feel like I can really show up in service to celebrate so-and-so's birthday. And this was a moment, like I said, all of my worthiness around receiving was coming up. And once I expressed that, the entire group of other people was just like, hey, how can we support you? What do you need? What do you need? Do you have any requests? And I started to really like listen to that. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, it would be really nice to just like have like a little massage or something. I would just love to be able to relax. And then all of a sudden, the entire dynamic of this social situation changed. And every single person there was giving me a massage. I was receiving a 9-person, 18-hand massage. And not only was that freaking amazing and awesome and probably one of the most incredible like physical sensations I've ever experienced, that sparked the rest of the entire crew to start asking for massages. And then all of a sudden everyone was doing massages or some sort of musical thing or what have you, right? It was this whole other thing. And that started because I decided to speak up and say, hey, you know what? I could really use some support right now, especially in the moment that I didn't feel worthy, right? And so that was recognizing in that moment that I was a gift to the situation. It was also a gift to receive the support from other people, but I was a gift to that social container because that sheer act of me expressing my raw, honest truth, even though it didn't feel completely welcome in the space, was a gift to provide the permission slip for other people to do the same. Who's kind of following me with some of these things right now, by the way? Awesome. I see head nods. I see like kind of shaking, dancing. Love it. And then the last thing, and I know I've been, let's see here. Yeah, we're good on time. I just wanted to share a few of these stories to really share what this really looks like. We're going to be going into practical tips. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here to just talk about myself this whole time. We're going to be going into things that you can be doing in your own life. And I want to have spot for questions too. But one of the biggest ones here lately, actually, and Chelsea, I came into her group program to talk about this too. But so right before I left Tulum, and Tulum was freaking amazing for me. I did a lot of things for the first time. I did my first in-person paid retreat, which was such an edge for me to allow myself again to receive and all of that stuff. Did my first in-person paid retreat, whole bunch of events, a private retreat with one of my clients who actually might be in here. I'm not going to shout them out unless they want to talk about it, but yeah, a lot of amazing firsts for me. And it was just kind of this high where everything kept getting better and better and better and better. And it got to be the end of my time in Tulum, right before I was coming back to Minnesota. And I put together another retreat. And I think I put it together maybe 3 weeks before we were going to do it. And it got to be the last week. And we had 0 tickets sold. And at this point, I was thinking to myself, I was like, okay, so when we put this together, I remember imagining or having the intention of, let's at least try to have half the tickets sold, if not more, before that last week, so that we're not like rushing to get tickets sold. Week out, 0 tickets sold. And between then and that next week, I tried everything that I could possibly do to try putting it together, trying new approaches, pivoting, changing up the pricing structure, changing up the way that I was talking about it to people, going from sending just like messages to my friends written out to being like sending out voice messages. I tried a whole bunch of different things to switch up the marketing to find something that clicked. And it got to be 24 hours before the retreat was going to start. I woke up that morning, checked online, 0 tickets sold. And so I was just like, man. And I made the decision to cancel the retreat. And what followed was one of the greatest gifts that I could have ever experienced. Although going through it, it didn't necessarily feel like a gift. But I remember being at, there was a spa that I would go to pretty often where we had like saunas, cold tubs, things like that. And I remember being in the sauna and I was just crying. I was crying. I was really sad. Not only sad because I love doing these retreats. Like it was a full, like, it wasn't like a 7-day thing or anything. It was like a 2-day weekend retreat, overnight, everything included. We were going to be having some breath work and ecstatic dance and other workshops and just things to really help people liberate themselves. And same with me. You know, everything that I do is for me as well. And I remember feeling so much sadness, not just because it wasn't going to happen, but because of the stories that I was making it mean about me. You know, I was thinking like, oh, there was this whole story of, Eddie, you're a failure. Eddie, you're not good enough. Eddie, what are all the other people in Tulum that you've talked to about this retreat going to think now that they've seen that you canceled your retreat because it didn't sell any tickets? And I had all these stories coming up around like I'm not good enough because I didn't have these results. And what this did for me, because up until this point, I couldn't see it. But what this experience did for me was allowed me to look at something that was running the show in my life, a place that I was attached to different results to dictate my worthiness, attached to results in my business, whether it's with money or whether it's just the social validation of seeing people's faces and everything like that. So everything started to shatter. Just like I said, the ego holding on. Perfect. Mickey, you're right there. The ego holding on to certain things externally to identify its sense of worthiness. The second that those external things went away, crumble. Just ego death. It's like, oh, who am I? Am I a failure? Am I not good enough? Who am I without my success? Right. And that's what I've seen with a lot of people too. It's like whether you are, quote unquote, what society says is successful or not, you know, people that might have their success attached to their self-worth. It can be a dangerous game to continue to stay attached to that, because the second it goes away, how do you respond? Because I responded in the way that I did. But if something like that were to happen again, that's just an event. It's like the difference between the sun shining or it being a little cloudy. It's like, all right, I guess I didn't sell any tickets to my retreat. Because after going through a lot of the work that I've gone through, my results in any business thing or any life situation, I don't let that mean anything about me anymore. And that's still a conversation I get to be in anytime I notice it. But so like I said, that's another one with just external validation. I feel like that kind of covered a lot of things there. And I want to go into, I've got some different things that I think can really support people here. And I also don't want to just guess, right? I want to actually hear from you guys. And so I want to take a moment to take some questions before we go into any of that. I see something written in the chat. Miguel, and feel free if you guys want to just raise your hands. Olivia, I'll get to you in a second. I want to see what Miguel wrote here. So question: with some of the healing work, it is not us as an individual actually healing, but a higher source. At least this is how I see it. How do we put a price? How do we put a price on this? That's a really good question, actually. I know I would actually refer you to a podcast on this, because we won't necessarily be able to dive super, super deep into this. Who was on for Reverend Brianna Lynn earlier when she came on to do her thing? So she is a freaking amazing woman. I had the blessing of working with her right around this time last year, actually. What's the date? Oh my God. Yeah, literally a year ago, I was working with her. But she was on a podcast, the Deja Blue podcast, and she's been on a lot of episodes, but she has one talking about money. And something that has really helped me around this is recognizing yeah, we cannot charge, especially when by the way, I want to know how many people this is relevant to. How many of you are in some sort of career where you might attribute pieces of the work that you do to be somewhat spiritual or in the name of love or God or channeling of the Pleiadians or whatever you want to call it? Okay, cool. So I think that's a good number of us. How many of you think that is yours? Is your connection with God your thing? And I ask that to just stir up some thoughts, but also just like really think about it and then answer it personally. In a lot of cases, just like you said, Miguel, this is not us. And I am not going to charge for the spiritual knowledge that I have learned throughout my journey. However, there are things that I can charge for, just like any other career. Just as much as doctors spend 10 years studying, going to medical school, and going through the whole journey to learn something that maybe they can help you with in 30 minutes or an hour, right? What you can charge for is your time. What you can charge for is the process that you have had to go through on just a human level, not looking at like, oh, higher knowledge, like what's this, how much is this code worth to them? But there's I wish I could find it. I'm actually going to probably send it to I know, Chelsea, you guys are sending out some sort of document after this, right? With links and stuff. Cool. So there's a video that one of my friends sent me on the 4 primary resources. It's money, time, life force, and value points. Right. So money is pretty self-explanatory. You know, we've got this paper money. Time, another self-explanatory thing. You know, we've got from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, or from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, or whatever. That's like time. Right. And then you've got your life force. That's your creativity. That's your creativity of what are you putting into this experience? How much of your attention are you putting into something? Because you can pay someone to be sitting in a chair for 8 hours. But if they can be doing whatever they want, they're not putting much of their life force into that job. Whereas if you're giving them a job where it's, hey, we want you to make this painting for us, that requires your solid, intricate attention the whole time, and your life force, your creativity. And then the same thing with value points. This is something that's it changes from person to person, but a great example is like with massage, right? You've got people that, how many of you could give me a massage if I asked for a massage right now? Right now, how many of you have studied massage or like paid to be in some sort of massage course? Okay, I see Gigi's hand up. I can probably guarantee that I would want to pay Gigi more than anyone else to give me a massage, because she probably knows a little bit more about what she's doing. Would you agree? You don't. This is situational, right? It's not always the case. But so some people, you kind of up your value points with the more things that you've learned. That's not always attributed to time. That's not always attributed to the amount of money that you've invested, but just how much do you actually know about the thing that you're doing? And so these are all just different concepts that have really helped me understand worth, because when it really comes to looking at it, you know, some people and this was me for a long time. Like I said, with my experience, when I asked this person for, oh, can I have $1,000 and I'll work with you every week for 3 months? I was thinking about like, I had this guilt around receiving. But the second that I really started to look at what I put into my coaching experiences, beyond just sessions, you know, working with me at this point is not sessions. I record content for people. I plan out different things. I have a whole process that we go through. I'm sending them just different assignments. There's much more time that goes into the experience for me than just charging by the hour. And when I was charging by the hour and just saying those low numbers, not feeling worthy of receiving, you know, I was actually burning myself out. I was putting myself through what would have essentially been less than minimum wage work, given what I would invest into experiences and had capacity for. And so the second I started to look at not just the time that I put into things, but where all of this experience has come from. Even Chelsea, can I use an example with us?
Sure.
Cool. So Chelsea and I did the little exchange a few months ago where we did some sessions with each other and just really looked at our lives and businesses together. And I shared something with her that came through for me during an ayahuasca ceremony that I had a year ago. And that was something that didn't come through easily. That was something that came through with so much intention and investment into this experience. That was something that came through with so much time. That was something that came through with so much pain that I had gone through. And in my session with Chelsea, where we're just talking for, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it was, boom, it just came right through. And that's something that we always really get to look at of, is this something that is just happening within this time? Or is the thing that we learned that we're now able to give to another person, is that something that it took us a whole journey to experience? What's another example of this? Like even, let's see, I'll use one with like, even with marketing. You know, marketing has been an edge for me lately that I've been getting better and better at. Whether it's putting up a landing page or as I'm building my website or things like that. The first time I did a lot of these things, it took me so much time. Now I'm getting to the point where I can make a flyer in probably 5 minutes. I know how to find the perfect picture. I know some good fonts. I know the formats to save it, and then just boom, I've got it. And so that becomes a lot easier given the skills and the time that I've invested in learning that thing. Is this helpful for you guys, by the way? All the stuff we're talking about? I'm happy to dive deeper into that too. And let's see here. You have to put this truth on another level. I'm reading, Kimberly, I'm reading your question right now. So you have to put this truth on another level of understanding, asking oneself, are you okay with asking for and receiving support when you feel that you need it? I would love to know the context of what that is. And I would actually love, let's see here. Awesome. I don't see any other question marks right now. I would love to even just bring you guys up where we can have like a verbal conversation and it's not just me talking. I would love to know how I can support. So if anyone has a question, just raise your hand or even just feel free to unmute. Jessica, I see your hand. What's going on?
I'm really hesitant, so I feel like that's a good sign that I should just throw it out there. I'm like, my hands are sweating for the first time all day.
Thank you.
So yeah, it was my birthday this week, and like, I fucking hate my birthdays. Like, I fucking hate them. Like, I just hate them. It's like funny. I want to laugh and cry at the same time, and I hate it. So yeah, it's like the only thing that makes me really uncomfortable. So I pretty much like, I don't make plans with anyone all week. And then I like resent the people that don't reach out. And then it's just like, I've done so much work and like, I don't know why every year I still get to the birthday week and I freaking have done the same pattern 4 years in a row now. So I woke up this birthday this year and I said, I will not have my birthday be the same way next year. I will not feel the same feeling. So maybe this is my moment to try to figure it out because it was only a few days ago. I'm still in it. It's technically my birthday weekend right now. So thank you for all being here with me.
Yes. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
This is perfect.
I hate the way that sounds.
It's an honor to share this space with all of you right now. I'm really, really so touched, Jessica. I'm moved with you.
Yeah, I've been here all day. I woke up at 6 a.m. So we're hitting the grind now. We're like deep.
Yep. Well, Jessica, I want to first of all just honor exactly what you said to start this off, of you speaking into something that felt incredibly uncomfortable for you. And I'd like to ask permission. Will you allow yourself to receive something for a moment?
Yes, I will.
Okay. So everybody that's here, let's give Jessica a little bit of a celebration. And on Zoom, it's never going to be synchronized. It's going to sound really weird.
No,
but Jessica, I would love.
The whole song. The whole song is the worst part.
Feel free to unmute if you can hear my voice right now, and let's allow Jessica to just receive the celebration of the fact that she came into this earth. She has decided to embody the human experience, and she has made it another lap around the sun. On 3, 2, Jessica, please allow yourself to receive this. 1. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday,
dear Jessica.
Happy birthday to you. Everyone give Jessica a little bit of love here.
Oh gosh, that's even harder. didn't really do anything, but I did.
If only we could have someone like bring you out a little cake and ice cream from behind you right now too.
Make a wish.
You know, like what that really was though, I think like, as we were saying, like we've been so expansive today and like being a full expression of ourselves. I recognize, because I did work on this earlier in the week with my actual therapist, that like I've never been able to like show how I really feel on my birthday. So I don't think I've ever been able to show people what that song makes me feel like. Every time that song is sung, I'm like in a restaurant with like freaking makeup on and like everyone sings it and I hate it. And I have to like smile through it and like make it sound like great, you know, like the best day of my life. And no matter what anyone does, it doesn't feel good. So I've chosen year after year to do it alone. So that was really powerful having you guys all sing to me. Thank you so freaking much. Wow, I said that genuinely. Genuine. That was a genuine thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd
Cool.
love if you can pick your birthday song that you want to hear every year from now on. I want you to pick your birthday song, and I'd love you to share it with us.
Oh, that's so nice. I should pick my own birthday song each year.
Mhm.
I'm glad I shared. Thank you guys.
Of course. And similar to when I talked about that like massage example, right? Where I was just like,
That's where it really resonated.
Yeah. Okay. So this is still unfolding right now. Catch this. So you just asked about this. There's an assignment that I was going to share with everyone. Jessica, I want to challenge you to do this. Everybody else listening, do it as well. You know, it's an edge to lean into. Jessica, I would really challenge you to do this though. But so I did this year actually for my birthday. It was my birthday about a month ago. And so I'm still kind of in that birthday energy. I like to live every day as if it's my birthday to an extent. But I had got a challenge earlier this year in a coaching program that I was in called an unbirthday party. This was a challenge given to me by Preston Smiles. Some of you guys might be familiar with him. But he challenged us to throw ourselves an unbirthday party, whether it was our birthday party or not, to actually go on and just get a group of our friends together and allow ourselves to be celebrated. And my intention with wanting to share this with all of you, and Jessica, I'm speaking to you right now, but I'm also speaking to everybody. My intention with wanting to share it with you is because I did this experience for my birthday at a time when I had been kind of recovering from somewhat of like that ego death of, you know, my retreat, not selling any tickets and things like that. And I was kind of on this inward like soul journey of kind of putting more pieces back together and finding more unconditional love for myself. And I had gone through a lot of that, so I wasn't using this as something that I needed for it. But I put together this party where I was like, you know what? I don't have the most of my friends that I have around the world, they're either in Tulum or Los Angeles or some other place. And I'm grateful to be building more tribe out here in Minnesota right now. But some of the people that I'm super close with are just traveling the world in different parts. And I was like, you know, it would be really fun to get some of my friends together and allow myself to be celebrated. And so the theme with this unbirthday party, and so here's what I would recommend you guys do. Whether it is for your birthday or not, you can label it as whatever, but I would invite you to think of every single person that has played some sort of role in your life in the last like 2 years, if not 20 or 30 years, and send them an invite. Send them an invite and tell them in this invite, set up a Zoom birthday party or some sort of Google Meet or whatever, or do it in person if all of your friends live in your neighborhood or something. But send them an invite and say, hey, it's my intention to just get on a call with you guys and celebrate myself and allow myself to be celebrated by some of the people that I've impacted the most. And so thinking back to some of the memories over the last few years, Jessica, I see you. You're
so hard right now because I actually, ironically, all right, I didn't really want to share this. This is so weird. I didn't want to share this on this call, really. Okay. Wow. I'm gonna have to. So I actually have a really weird duality crisis that I live with, where this past week, right before my birthday, I became recognized as disabled by the United States government. I'm a really hard perfectionist, hard work driven person, and my body doesn't live up to what I want it to do. So because of that, I have so many abilities, but because I'm labeled as disabled, I haven't been on Instagram in 2.5 years, and the people who did wish me happy birthdays still think I work at my corporate job. So it's kind of weird because I've been relearning how to walk for 2.5 years and no one knows. So maybe that is a hugely powerful way for me to call the people that really matter, because I've had this huge fear around Instagram. Like, I don't want to have to tell everybody on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it would be better if I did it like that. Like, that's hard, but maybe more comfortable for me, really.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had anyone recommend that, so thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is thank you for sharing that, by the way. That's
It's good. I've got it really well managed.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and
I'm like a little warrior child, so we're good. Thank you all.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
And on the same note of embodying your authenticity, Tristan, do you have something to add right with this? No? Okay.
No, just sending her love right now.
Thank you. But on that same note of embodying your authenticity, right? Like what I just witnessed when you shared that, when you said, you know what, I wasn't really going to share this, but it was there nonetheless. How do you feel now that you've shared that?
I wish I could do it with the people that love me.
Does anyone else have their own version of that? Whether it's that you haven't told people that you're disabled, or whether it's that you've got some truth that you haven't expressed or haven't really talked about or been honest about your past with people in your life. Yeah, there's a lot here. So Jessica, and I would really love to follow up with all of you guys who decide to do this. But so reaching out to your friends, however you want to do it, whether you want to announce it on your Instagram or whether you want to just send out a whole bunch of private messages, set the intention of just allowing yourself to receive. Allowing yourself to say, hey, you know what, I would just love to hear some of the most amazing moments that we've had together, or hear about some of the ways that I may have impacted you or inspired you, or XYZ. Make it your own.
You want to hear how my friends would expect it to come from me, because I'm the strong friend? So I have to just invite them all into a room and just tell them all I love them so much and thank them all for everything they've ever done with me. And this is a moment for me to tell them what I've been working on, and we're going to celebrate my success of where I was and where I am now. And I'm ready to reintroduce myself to the world. Like, that's what this whole like kind of flow of this theme of this weekend has been for me. So that may be a beautiful way for me to just come out of the cocoon, the chrysalis. So
I feel you. I was in the same boat.
I'm powerful. I could bang it out like that. It really feels cool. So thank you.
Yeah, enjoy it.
I'm gonna unpin now. I'm gonna unpin and process and
cool. Thank you for coming forward and allowing yourself to share and be seen.
Totally.
I gained a lot of value out of that, and I think other people have. I've seen so many head nods and comments, and I think that was a gift for everyone. So like I said, that literally was one of the things that I wanted to get into as a way of really understanding who you are. Because sometimes we can understand our magic, but until you might have some other people reflect how epic of a human you actually are, you might not fully be able to get it. So that's one of my first invitations. We still have a little bit of time. Does anyone else have a question? I think I had seen some other hands up. Allison, I see your hand is raised, at least according to Zoom. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Hi.
So after, affirming worthiness and self-love and having a desire and a goal, and then there's like a fear fence that's in between me holding on to my worthiness and my self-love, embodying it, and the goal. And how do I jump over that fear fence and not let it stop me from taking action.
You're amazing. This is literally like you, like Jessica just answered it, and she's like, yo, me too right now.
I'm
right?
already
And
thinking in my head, like, all right, well, I want to do it. I'm writing it down on paper. It sounded great, but now I'm scared as fuck.
yeah, so these are literally the two. I got kind of like 2/3 like optional assignments as something to really work through a lot of this stuff. Like I said, the unbirthday party is freaking huge. Just allow yourself to be celebrated. But then to the piece about the fear, right? The fear of, oh, what's going to happen if da 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 da. Maybe you can understand that you've got some imposter syndrome or whatever the case may be. Is that what it is for you?
Well, it's like, yeah, okay, so I know that I'm worthy. I know that I have talent. I have friends who have affirmed it, witnessed me, acknowledged me, et cetera, et cetera. But then to really step out of that inner circle and to go into the larger world, and it's like the fear is just like, here I am.
Yep.
Are you
First
gonna
of all,
come and get me?
can you give us an example of what this looks like for you right now?
Sure. Yeah. So I do energy healing, and I stepped away from my corporate role over a year ago during COVID, and I took some time for myself for the reflection and all that. And I'm ready to take some action. I know that I have the capacity to hold space. I know that I've done my own healing up to the point where it's time for me to share and expand more, go up the spiral. And it's like I have the knowledge to say, okay, this is the next step, but it's like that getting started. There's probably blind spots there. There's probably things that like I'm just not even able to articulate. I could call it overwhelm or I don't know what, but even just like the getting started to take small steps, sometimes it's like there's so much inertia.
Yep. Let's jump just into that first part. What's the next step for you?
So
that you've been afraid to make, or that you just haven't done yet?
There's probably a couple things, and you've touched on them. One is deciding on how much I will ask people to pay me. Two is actually, I even have some people that said they were interested, but actually setting up the times to book the session, because I haven't decided on how much I'm going to ask them to pay me. And then even like I started writing things for my website, but really taking the time to sit down and like block it out and like put it up there and be like, okay, here's my presence. I exist. Like this is a service that I'm offering.
Cool. So let's pause for a sec. Have you done these readings before?
Yes.
These energy healings? Cool.
Yes.
And so you've got people that would be like, that were like, oh my God, that was amazing.
Yes.
Like, I want to do more. Awesome. Perfect. So first of all, there's an inner work piece, and then I'll speak specifically to the outer work, I guess, piece. And the outer work is you already know, it's reaching out to people, knowing what you have to offer, deciding on a price that feels good for you. And it doesn't matter what that price is. Another person doesn't need to tell you, just feel into it. I will say from where I'm currently at in my own money conversations, I like to ask for numbers that excite me. Sort of like how Adrian was talking about our boundaries earlier. Like, think about a number that's really a fuck yes, that will allow you to show up fully for the experience. And also something that will get them to show up fully. And then at the same time, not being attached. And whether that not attachment is to, and because you get to assess where you're at, because sort of like I said with ecstatic dance earlier, I didn't have the confidence because I hadn't truly put in the reps. Between me not doing an ecstatic dance in Minnesota, like literally 2.5 years ago, and me doing one last night, I have done probably 50 to 100 dance experiences. And I've got so much confidence at this moment that you drop me in a place and you give me my Spotify profile or anyone's Spotify profile, and I'm going to put something together. I can put something together in 5 minutes. If you were to tell me, hey, Eddie, our next speaker isn't coming on. Actually, Mana, I think I saw you join here. But if you were like, hey, she's not coming on, I would be like, all right, we're going to go dance now, even though we've got a minute left here. And I recognize that for those of you that might want to message me telling me to hop off. So there's the piece about the practice. And at the same time, you don't get practice unless you're in the game.
Right.
And just like with doctors, and this is such a perfect example, because in the realm of spirituality and energy healing and coaching and all of this stuff, right? We think like, oh, my practice is I'm going to go get another certification. My practice is I'm going to go write up my website. I'm going to go create a Calendly account today. Yeah, that's my big goal, right? And I know how this goes, because this was me for a very long time too. So if this is any of you, I'm not trying to single you out. But a lot of the practice comes from actually doing it.
Yeah.
Right. And even before doctors go and get their official like doctorate degree, and then they're the doctor of the office, they've been in the hospitals. They've been getting experience with patients. And so getting that is probably the number one thing that's going to help you really just take this to the next level, is just continue to get be of service as much as you can.
Yeah.
And charge charge an edge for you, but don't charge something that you don't think you're worthy of.
Right.
Because if you don't think that you're worthy of it, like it should be the edge of what you really think you're worthy of. Not something where you're like, oh, I'm not worthy of anything, so how about $9 for this 90-minute Reiki session? Right. But at the same time, not being like, all right, it's going to be $9 million and we're going to fix all of your life problems and you're going to be fucking Jesus coming out of this.
Right.
You know, maybe don't set up that expectation, but really feel into it for yourself. I don't want to give an answer here because it's personal to where you're at.
No, I agree with that. I agree. Yeah.
Cool.
It's really just like that, the fear though of the actual, I don't know, there's like a fear between me doing the action, the desire, the knowledge of this is the next step, and then actually doing the action.
What are you afraid is going to happen?
That's a good question. I suppose it's a bunch of things glubbed up together. You know, judgment, failure.
Judgment. Let's look at judgment first. What happens if judgment of who?
Of me, I'm probably attaching it to my worth.
So judging yourself because you're charging money, or judging yourself based on some results?
Some based on their feedback.
Okay.
Or their reaction to me.
So you're afraid of well, so what I'm hearing is, so do you have a problem? Do you have a problem with doing these free sessions? If someone were to reach out and be like, hey, let's do a healing.
Free
you have no problem with that.
I'm all like, yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Oh, so free sessions are fine. But the second you start to say it's going to be $100, how does that feel?
For me I don't know, because I haven't done it yet.
Well, just to go back a little bit, I'm not putting words in your mouth. This is what I heard from you, but it sounded like you were saying that once you're charging for something, you're setting up more expectations.
Yes.
Where you feel like you need to show up in a different way. Is that, am I hearing that correctly? Yeah,
that could be a good way to summarize it.
Cool. I could say so much on this. I know I really want to honor everyone's time here and get off in a bit, but I want to wrap this up, and I'm happy to go back and forth. Just like Adrian said last time, I would love to connect and shoot voice memos. That goes for anyone on this call. Like, I seriously love connecting. As much as I've been sitting here talking and reading some comments, I love connecting with people too. But the first thing I would say, sit with what you make other people's stories about you mean about you.
Right.
Because just as we talked about with having an internally rooted sense of worthiness and just like knowing of who you are, I'm at the point right now where I honor people, like I receive people's feedback. If someone were to come up to me and be like, hey, I think that ecstatic dance you did sucked, or hey, that coaching session that we just had was garbage, I'm honoring of that's their experience, but I also don't make that mean something about me.
Right.
And that's taken a lot of work. I don't say
Yeah.
that as like I'm just some outstanding person. You know, this goes back to my story of even in childhood. I got so freaking bullied growing up. And it was mostly because people would just be like, Eddie, you're stupid. And I was like, I'm stupid. When I didn't have the internal confidence to be like, no, I'm not stupid. Right. So really sit with that, sit with your fears around it. And then I want to go into this other thing that can go for every single person. It's a mirror work exercise. And a lot of this stuff is the stuff I do with clients and everything too. I wanted to be able to give like some of the most valuable things here. This mirror work exercise, I've got a mirror no matter where I'm living. I've got a mirror. Oh, it's freaking dark in my room, but there's a mirror right here. I spend a lot of time looking in a mirror, whether it is meditating, whether it's dancing, whether it is sometimes self-pleasuring, like literally in a mirror, full body, nude, like whatever it is. But there's a specific mirror work exercise that I would invite everybody here to do. And this is something that has helped me really get over my fears and also cultivate more self-love and understanding of how freaking dope I am, right? And that goes for all of us. That's not Eddie only being the dope person. Like every person in here, you are a gift, right? But you got to recognize it. So there's 3 prompts. The first one is, I love you even though. And this is where we go into our past. This is where we're going into a whole bunch of clearing and things like that, where you get to really sit with like, hey, I love you even though this thing just happened, or I love you even though that thing happened way back then, you know. And when like this changes for me over time, but like even recently, while I was going through my internal sort of like healing from that retreat and everything, it was, I love you even though nobody bought tickets to your retreat. I love you even though you lost money on the deposit for it. I love you even though da 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 da, right? And just going off. And this can go very, very deep. We can go very deep, very quick when you start to really get honest with yourself here. I love you even though. The next one is, I love you even if. That's where you insert some of your biggest fears. So in your case there, it might be, I love you even if this person hates your session. I love you even if nobody wants to buy a session from you. I love you even if the world does X, Y, and Z, right? And I'm doing my best to wrap this up really quick here. The next one is, here's what I really love about you. And that is just where you go absolutely off loving yourself and talking to yourself as if you are, because you are your own best friend. Like, hey, I really freaking love the way that you show up every single day. I love the way that you cook this meal for me in the morning. I love the way that you dance. I love the way that you paint. I love the way that you sing. I love the way that you work out or stretch or do yoga or whatever the thing is, just really filling yourself up. Right. And there's so much more that we could go into here. I do apologize to all the hosts and everyone for going a little bit over time. Like I said, please feel free to reach out to me through Instagram, send me a direct message, anything like that. I would love to dive deeper into this with you. And I also host breathwork every single Saturday. So if any of you guys want to connect a little bit deeper with working through some of these things that can hold us back and some of the traumas that might be deeply held in the body, this is like all beyond the conscious of where we're at. I've got breathwork on Zoom every Saturday morning. The last few that I've started sharing on Zoom have been fucking amazing. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you everyone for being a part of this. Thank yourself. Give yourself a little hug right now for just showing up. Remember, you are worthy. You are a gift to this world. I'm super looking forward to this next workshop. Chelsea and the rest of the team, thank you for having me. Look forward to connecting with you all soon.
Oh, all right, everybody. Let's take ourselves off of mute, rub our hands together, generate some love, electricity, and let's say a big ashta hey.
Eddie.
Ashta hey.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. I love it.
Thank you.
So that was so good. I loved all of the questions. I loved how deep we went. That was like boom, all the way. That was amazing. I love it. I love it. Eddie is he's a Libra, but he has a lot of Scorpio energy. We're in Scorpio season. He can hold so much space. He's got I think Scorpio moon or something. So he's just like, boom, he's all the way there. So amazing.